Now, a procession of political leaders from both the ruling APC and the anti-Tinubu coalition have been visiting former President Momodu Buhari in Kaduna. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who appears to be heading the moves to form an opposition coalition against President Tinubu, led a coterie of prominent northern politicians to Mr. Buhari's residence, seeking apparently to get him to align with them politically on the road to 2027. But not to be outdone, another group from the APC, led by the party's national chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, turned up at President Buhari's residence to remind him, we're told, that he is still a ranking member of the APC and cannot therefore be seen to be getting into bed with the opposition, amid concerns that he's shown limited support for the Tinubu administration. There appears to be considerable worry that Mr. Buhari's CPC group in the APC, which is thought to control up to 12 million northern votes, might switch sides in 2027, and that the body language from the former president seems to be reinforcing those suspicions. So how ominous might all this be for President Tinubu? Well, to give us his perspective on this and other national events across Nigeria, I'm joined now in the studio by the publisher of Ovation magazine and former PDP presidential aspirant Basharun Dele Momodu, who is a popular critic of bad governance in Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed. Great to see you again.
Good evening.
Having seen you yesterday.
Yes.
And thank you very much indeed. Really, really nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Let me start with this. There was a very important PDP meeting today. The PDP governors got together in Oyo State. They said, for instance, that they won't join any coalition or merger, but are happy to have other parties join them to wrest power from the APC. I mean, do those governors speak for the membership of the PDP?
Oh, of course, to a large extent. Governors are very, very powerful in any political party because they hold most of the aces. But in the case of PDP, I'll confess that the situation has been quite embarrassing to a lot of us, especially those of us who are not career politicians. We are in the party because we needed an alternative to APC. So if they say they are not joining any coalition or the coalition should join them, I think it's a matter of semantics. We're still saying the same thing. They are not saying, oh, we can go it alone. I don't think any party, whether PDP, Labour Party, ABGA, or any of the major opposition parties can go it alone against a formidable ally like APC or a very, very, very determined Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is already president. Even when he was not president, we faced a lot of fire. And now when you have a Tinubu and some Wike on one side, then it means that you have to be battle ready. You have to assemble all your weapons and be ready for the battle ahead, because 2027 is going to be like a World Cup.
Indeed.
And you need your best players.
Absolutely. And of course, when one thinks about the crisis in the PDP, the simmering crisis, and the belief of many in the party that some of your own members are working against the PDP. I mean, that must be a cause of concern for somebody like yourself. I mean, who and whether or not how much that might play into the mix.
Well, there are several ways of looking at it. The first is that you can't blame some of those who are working with Tinubu. There are people who are afraid for themselves. They need to survive. You know, in politics, it's a game of survival. It's all. Someone like Wike, for example, what can he do? Without Tinubu, he would have become a nobody instantly. And Tinubu has given him so much power. So to whom much is given, much is expected. So I'm not surprised that he would swim or sink with Tinubu. He has no other option. And then his ambition is as voluptuous, as voluble as that of Tinubu. But unfortunately, he has to keep his ambition in abeyance, pending the time there will be an opening. And that might be like waiting for Godot, Samuel Becker's waiting for Godot.
Right.
So you have others, the governors, who are being threatened, underground. They are being threatened. If you don't support Tinubu, especially those who want a second term, that you are going to lose second term. So the strategy this time is different from just get INEC, grab power and run with it. This time they are going to need to build more prisons. They are going to need to use force to coerce people into accepting the party. I don't think they are even looking at election. I think they are looking at a different strategy, that if possible, acquire as many states as possible in arrears and in advance.
That's a very interesting line of analysis there, but I'm going to come to the Wike debacle and also all the things that are happening in Rivers State and so on, because we would really appreciate your assessment and your comments there. But there is talk that Atiku Abubakar and his supporters, which presumably includes yourself, are trying to get President Buhari to move his CPC bloc from the APC to the new planned sort of coalition, which would be reminiscent of what happened when Peter Obi, for example, moved from the PDP to the Labour Party ahead of the 2023 election and took a significant chunk of the voters with him. In other words, the plan is to cause the APC to implode. You've got the inside track because you've been recently the director of strategic communications for the Atiku National Campaign Management Committee. Give us the inside track on that.
Well, I don't have the inside track. All I know is that opposition leaders are very determined this time around to work together. The truth of the matter is that Atiku cannot go it alone. Peter Obi cannot go it alone. Rabiu Kwankwaso cannot go it alone. And whosoever wants to run. So naturally, they have to find a way to pay APC back in its own coins. I was one of those who supported APC in 2014, 2015.
Yes, I remember reading your articles and stuff. Yeah.
So they are going to pay them back in their own coins by at least trying to get a chunk of all the parties, including APC, to come together. So if our governors are saying, oh, we don't want to go into a coalition, I don't know what that means. Then it means that surreptitiously, you are probably working for a Tinubu presidency. But people must learn from history. I'm a good student of political history. The only way Lagos State under Tinubu survived the blistering attack from the Obasanjo government was because they were able to stand alone. When you are bold, a bully only respects a bully. But all of us are already behaving like chicken. We're behaving like chicken. Oh, anything, people panic. Oh, Tinubu, oh, they are going to use the FCC. Oh, they are going to arrest me. Oh, they are going to do this. The thing is that we all like to read about Mandela in South Africa. We all like to read about the Mahu struggle. Even in Nigeria, we had the nationalists who struggled for our independence. But it seems suddenly everybody just feels power can be offered to you on a platter.
Nobody wants to stick their neck out.
Nobody wants to risk anything. And that is the problem. But I can tell you that any governor, any senator, any house member who may be tempted to just jump ship may jump to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. That is my view. And so that is why some of us are appealing to them that, look, this thing is doable. If you ask me, I will analyze you.
But they have to come together, basically.
That is the thing.
Right.
It is very doable if they agree to work together. But if everybody is still playing on ego...
Well, let me ask you this based on that, because at this point, we've got about 2 years to go before the next presidential election. Both the PDP and the Labour Party are in disarray. I mean, those are the two main opposition parties. The SDP appears to be ascendant. and the incumbent APC appears to be on the losing end of the battle for the hearts and minds of many Nigerians. Who would you say at this point has the advantage or the edge as we look ahead? I mean, do you really think power can change hands in 2027?
I have no doubt whatsoever.
That it can?
That it can. You see, when you look at the political history, as I mentioned earlier, look at APC itself, how it came from nowhere. And people were telling us that, oh, it's not possible. You can't remove PDP. PDP was the biggest, the largest political party in Africa, and with access to stupendous cash. But when the people are determined, when the people are forced to get desperate, anything can happen.
But doesn't it depend on the person who's at the helm? Because there were a lot of loose ends when Jonathan was in charge. I mean, I remember people saying, I mean, a lot of people went to the presidency and collected huge amounts of money and didn't do anything. I mean, they didn't actually campaign. They just put the money in their bank accounts and there was nobody to monitor them. But you've got a different kind of person this time in Aso.
That is why I believe that all the money they're already throwing around, we're seeing it. They are not hiding it on social media. They are going from state to state, trying to see if they can buy all buyables. But that is not possible. There is no leader, no matter how wealthy, who can buy every electorate. That is not possible.
Yeah, but you can buy enough.
No. I'm telling you, you can't even buy enough.
Right.
Let's say you need 15 to 20 million people. So how much are you going to give them? So you will go from state to state, from local government to local government and be distributing money. You will look stupid at the end of the day. And there are people who will take your money and disappear with it. More often than not, the money you are spending, you have to give to certain leaders. You cannot do it directly. So, but talking about who leads the opposition and all that, my theory is very simple and straightforward. No southern candidate can take on Tinubu, except a Goodluck Jonathan, for example. But I doubt if he would want to stress himself. He's not the kind of person, he's a man, you can see he's a man of contentment, he's an intellectual who believes that even where he got to, he never expected to get to that level. So it might be difficult for him.
So he's not going to basically have the energy
to
get into all of this.
Because these guys are going to be very rough.
They'll take him to the cleaners.
Oh, yeah, basically. They are going to be very, very rough. The only man they fear, and that's why they're already demarketing him in advance, is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
Well, let me ask you that,
yes,
since you brought up his name, because I'm hearing a lot of people talking about and wondering why it's looking as if that coalition is being erected around the candidacy of Atiku Abubakar, even though other potential coalition leadership members such as Peter Obi, Rabiu Kwankwaso, and their supporters, and they've got considerable supporters, appear to have a problem with giving that candidacy to Atiku.
You have to be realistic. It's a game of number. And it's also a game of your network. There is no one in Nigeria today as experienced, as exposed, as networked as Atiku Abubakar. From 1993, when he stepped down for Chief Moshood Abiola in Jos. So when people are mentioning him, it is based even on what has happened elsewhere. Why do you think the Republicans in America will risk a Donald Trump? A man who already lost the election, who already got indicted on many felonies, because they needed him. Now, I will give you a scientific answer. According to Isaac Newton, actions and reactions are always equal and opposite. For anybody to face a Tinubu, that person has to come from an opposite direction. Which means it must be someone who can get the North to coalesce behind him. So I pray that the coalition will be able to achieve that. I don't know if they will, but I'm sure they are working on that. Then it must be someone who has substantial network in the South, in the Southwest, in the Southeast, in the South-South. There is no other person I can see who has that kind of network behind him. So that's why everybody is talking Atiku. And those who are trying to demarket him, they are saying is this, is that. The same people are not discouraging Tinubu. But some people, like my friend, Senator Shehu Sani, the other day said, oh, we should just allow Tinubu to do his 8 years. But that's not democracy. Democracy, as practiced in Nigeria, is done every 4 years because it is an examination. You pass or you fail. Your only qualification cannot be about where you come from. The only qualification we're seeing now is that, oh, a Southerner. If you ask Wike what happened, why are you supporting to me? Say, oh, it's because I wanted to support. But he wanted to be a VP. Once upon a time. He didn't get it.
Right, but there could yet be a sting in the tail, though, that would benefit Tinubu if his reforms, for example, kick in and Nigeria starts to turn the tide and you start to see a lot of foreign investment coming in. I mean, that could happen, you know, within the next couple of years, couldn't it?
Look, by this time next year, Tinubu would have done about 3 years. I don't see any magic or miracle is going to perform between now and then. I don't. That's my personal view.
Right.
There is a saying that a child who is going to be bright, even right from when he is very little, you will see signs of that brightness. The APC under Tinubu, I believe they've been quite careless. And I will give you a few examples. Number one, how does a political party wake up and start attacking their biggest brand? That's Buhari. How does a president wake up and start attacking his immediate predecessor from the same political party? For me, they've been quite reckless. I don't know what happened to them. Maybe after getting power, they thought, okay, we no longer need anybody. So now you can see twice in the last few weeks, APC, the leadership, they've been running, you know, helter-skelter, going to see Buhari in Kaduna. Our own coalition in making, they've also been going there because they know that is the biggest northern star. Buhari, that I know, is a principled man. He's likely to support Tinubu personally. But collectively, he might not be able to control his foot soldiers. And when that happens, so where then will this APC thing come from? And one thing I can give to the North, unlike some of us who are squeamish down south, is that they are very bold. They are not afraid to confront challenges. So if that happens and they decide that, no, we don't want Tinubu, there's nothing they can do. Right. They will have to kill everybody in the place.
Okay, well, let's move on away from that. And because, as you know, President Tinubu has suspended democratic governance in Rivers State. It's a state shaken by political conflict, whose magnitude, according to President Tinubu, has struck at the very foundations of stability there. Mr. Tinubu appointed a sole administrator, and he set about dismantling, or some would say destroying and reconstituting the structures there. And, you know, there are legal challenges in courts. There's stark, despondent warnings that the full picture of what he's planning to do, that's the sole administrator in Rivers State, could be far worse. What do you make of what's going on there?
There was no political upheaval in Rivers. It was deliberately induced. It's like when you induce coma. So what they did was playing a game that would eventually climax at declaring a state of emergency. Rivers State is still one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria today. You can see sometimes when you talk about state of emergency, you will still see pockets of attacks, resistance, and everything. But people are okay, but they are disappointed. What happened was a case of daylight robbery. Nobody has declared state of emergency in Borno State. Nobody has declared state of emergency in Zamfara. So tell me what happened in Rivers. It's about one man's voluble ambition. A man wanted, after 8 years, he wanted an elongation of his governorship, while at the same time simultaneously holding on to one of the biggest ministerial portfolios in Nigeria at the FCT. And the president indulged him. When the crisis started, they invited both parties. What I expected the president to do, while Fubara complied, Wike did not comply, I expected that the president would have instructed Wike to say, face your business in Abuja. And Wike is a damn good fellow when it comes to projects. I said that about him all the time. The only problem he has is this is anger mismanagement. Let me put it that way. You see, when a man mismanages his anger and it doesn't matter to him, look at now, he wants to carry the same thing to Bayelsa State. And the governor is already crying, say, please help me, rescue me. How do you allow a man to go on rampage when you can see what happened? So it was deliberate. The Rivers thing, they wanted to pocket Rivers, not for votes. It's for the resources of Rivers.
But how can one man, Nyesom Wike, be so improbably powerful that he can do these kinds of things? Not only hold a state to ransom for 2 years, but, you know, with a flick of his thumb, get the president to declare a state of emergency, even though virtually every legal luminary, including the Nigerian Bar Association, has found that to be unconstitutional, and suspend the governor.
It is because their interests align. The interests of the president and Wike align. You don't need a soothsayer to tell you that. It's as simple as ABC. Wike, like I told you, is the only man who is not afraid to bring the roof down if necessary.
So what do you think is going to happen in Rivers State going forward?
I don't know. I mean, they already got what they wanted. They have access to the resources. The man at the end of affairs is making appointments as if he's producing popcorn. So he's doing whatever he wishes, and nobody is going to stop him for as long as the interests align, as I said. So that's what's going on.
Well, very briefly, because time is galloping ahead, you know, the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia has ordered U.S. law enforcement agencies, including the State Department, the CIA, FBI, IRS, Drug Enforcement Agency, to release confidential information generated on President Tinubu during a purported U.S. federal investigation in the 1990s. It's got to do with this chap called Aaron Greenspan, who's filed Freedom of Information requests seeking access to a joint investigation on the activities of 4 people, including Bola Ahmed Tinubu, regarding money laundering of a heroin ring that operated in Chicago in the early 90s. What do you make of that?
It's just going to end up an academic exercise. I don't think Nigerians are moved by anything again. And I agree with Mr. Bayo Onanuga's analysis that nothing new is going to come out of it, or nothing exceptional is going to be discovered. It's going to be the same, a rehash of the same story again. And I think Nigerians have already accepted that, okay, no matter how bad the situation is, we have a president, so let's live with him. So what I'm not sure about is if they're ready to live with him for 4 years, for 8 years, or if possible, for more years, because anything can happen these days.
Well, let's turn to the ongoing sexual harassment saga between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and Senator Godswill Akpabio. How do you interpret the chain of events there, and how do you understand the issues? Well,
for me, I was one of those who went all out to support Senator Natasha, and I'm very proud of her. I'm proud of what she's been able to achieve. But after all the hullabaloo, I think the time has come now for the Senate to settle down to serious business. They should do everything possible to bring her back urgently, and I hope there will be concessions on both sides, because in any peace initiative, I always talk about concessions. So I'm praying that both sides will listen. but they need to bring her back urgently.
Yeah, but how do you resolve the issue that is hanging there, which is the issue of sexual harassment?
Sexual harassment is a different matter entirely. I don't think they removed that because of sexual harassment.
Well, they said they didn't.
So I don't think so. So that can still be pursued while she's back at the Senate. So my advice is that everything should be done for her to come back to the Senate.
Right.
And I pray that the Senate president would also be able to embrace peace and let her serve her people, because some people voted for her. And you can see the support they've given her over time. I mean, they tried to recall her, it didn't work. For me, she should be magnanimous in victory. She's done excellently well, but knowing Nigeria, after some time, people will get bored, they will move on with their lives, and then what happens? So my advice, and I've given this privately and publicly, is that the two parties must find a common front. Once upon a time, they were friends, and they said it. Both of them said it, that they were family friends. So, but in the days of war, every statement becomes a proverb.
Well, talking about war, I mean, you yourself once had a very fertile, let me put it that way, friendship with President Tinubu. I mean, long before he became president. I mean, I don't know if we've got some lovely photos of the two of you together, even when you were quite young. I don't know if they've got them uploaded there. But, I mean, you know, now there seems to be regular verbal punch-ups, at least from your side. What happened to tilt the balance?
I have never had any verbal attack against him. I see him as my big brother, I see him as a friend, but unfortunately, I place my country above friendship, and it's always been like that.
I mean, look at the two of you. You were virtually kids.
Yeah, this was 1996.
Yeah.
This was in front of my house in London, at the Christian.
Amazing, really, isn't it?
Yes.
So you go back a long way.
A long way. As I was saying, for me, it's about nation. And for him, too, when he was in opposition, he didn't look at friendship. He went all out to defend. I always tell him that anyway, he was the one who brainwashed me into being a warrior. Because he himself was a warrior.
And now you're a warrior
and
against him.
Exactly, so that's life. But when we meet, we hug, I'll prostrate to him as an elder. But when it comes to Nigeria, Nigeria comes first.
Indeed.
Yes.
And of course, you'll be 65 next month. Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you, sir.
We remember how there was considerable ovation for you when you turned 60. How auspiciously are you planning to mark the event of your 65th birthday?
Well, my friends, my committee of friends and the Dele Momodu Foundation, it's been duly registered now. We have a series of events lined up, starting from my home state of Edo State.
Because you are from Edo State.
I'm from
Everybody
Edo State,
thinks you're from the Southwest.
Yeah, because I was born in Ife. I have a first degree in Yoruba. My mother came from Osun State, Bogon, Lufi, you know. So
your dad is from Edo State.
And my dad from Edo, Iheve, in the Owan East local government. So I've been able to erect a small bungalow in the place, and we want to go there. I've been able to tar the street on my road to give something back to my community. I'm not contesting the election in Edo, but my father died about 52 years ago. His name was Jacob. I'm Joseph. So now we have Jacob and Joseph Villa in Iheve, and I'm so proud of that decision. Then the Dele Momodu Leadership Center in Ibadan is also ready, so we're going to be presenting that to the public. I got the idea from the Bellagio, which is owned by the Rockefeller Foundation in Lake Como in Italy, and so we'll be able to invite scholars to be in residence, you know, so they come, and then we can exchange ideas, you know, with others. So that is also ready. Then there is a major lecture, because the biggest task in Nigeria today and Africa is how to end hunger and poverty. It is so germane, and I've spoken to President Obasanjo, and he has kindly agreed to deliver that. There is nobody more experienced than him when it comes to green revolution in Africa, and it's very well respected. I think after Nelson Mandela, that's the biggest man. And so I'm honored to have him as a guest lecturer,
Right.
and President Jonathan is very happy to come as a chief guest of honor. We have so many other dignitaries so that we can all come together and rescue Africa. We can't just be fighting every day.
Sure.
In fact, it's like we've abandoned governance and we're all just fighting like babies.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I mean, it all sounds very impressive. Finally, what is your sense of yourself as you approach 65? Because many people think of you as this engine of hard work and rigor that is just driving all the time.
I thank God. It's not been easy. I came to Lagos in 1988 at the age of 28, a poor boy from Ile-Ife. And I was just determined that I'm not going to go back to where I came from in the same way. So today, at 65, I must see myself as a statesman.
Well, you're not 65 yet.
Well, we thank God.
You've still got a month to go.
That's fine. So, but I'm happy that as I approach 65, I can see myself as a statesman. That's very important. That's why I do what I do. It is not convenient to be in opposition. In fact, I tell my friends, I said, anyone who is opposition in Nigeria is like a suicide bomber. Because what do you gain from it? Most things revolve around government in Nigeria. And once you are not in government, there is a limit to what you can achieve. But I thank God for the little that he has given me. And I'll be very happy to share it with others.
Well, we're very happy that you took the time to come and talk to us. Very, very nice talking with you this evening, and thank you very much indeed for coming in. Basharu Dele Momodu is the publisher of Ovation magazine, is a former PDP presidential aspirant, and he's a popular critic of bad governance in Nigeria. Great to see you.
It's always
thank
a
you very
pleasure
much
to be on your program.
Really nice to see you.
The great Charles Aniagolu.
The great Basharu Dele Momodu.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.